प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्ताम् सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्.
So, dukkhamiti and kaya klesha bhaya. That means two things are there. One is that it will cause sorrow to the mind, unhappiness to the mind, trouble to the mind, and it will cause trouble to the body. So, both these thoughts, out of these thoughts, one who renounces some work. So, he says, Dukkham ityeva yat karma kaya klesha bhayat tyajat. Your Viveka Buddhi is saying that it has to be done. In Mahabharata also, Krishna is repeatedly saying that Tasmad Yudhyasva Bharata, Tasmad Yudhyasva, Tasmad Yudhyasva. Therefore, Arjuna, you fight. That means, if he considers Krishna as the Guru, his own Viveka Buddhi may not be that clear or sharp by then. But the Guru is saying, he has to listen to the Guru. What a disciple does, until his Viveka becomes absolutely clear, he has to listen to the Guru and follow whatever the Guru says. That is why we say the unquestioning devotion to the Guru. Unquestioning devotion. When the Guru says, simply we have to do it. Why? Because my Viveka Buddhi is not fully clear. The clarity has not dawned. If you start analyzing Guru's statement that he is saying like this, whether I should do or whether I should not do, that means who is Guru? You are the Guru. You are analyzing Guru's statement whether he has said, asked me to do the correct thing or not. Then better you go ahead with your own Viveka. So as long as that confidence is not there, the clarity is not there, we have to fully listen to the Guru. It is not mortgaging our intelligence. It is a very purest intelligence by which we follow the Guru. People think that, can you mortgage your intelligence to that extent? Well, you don't mortgage, but spirituality is not for you. Your intelligence has to go to that far to understand that I am considering Guru to be at a higher level. And not only that, he knows about me better than I know about myself. Otherwise, how will he guide you? If he doesn't know what is your goal, which I myself do not know, then will the Guru be able to guide? So the Guru-Shishya relationship, the first thing is to understand that Guru knows about me better than I know about myself. Otherwise, it will not be possible. We always say that you are thirsty, moving in the desert. You look for water, nobody is there. Some people are coming from other side. Whom will you ask whether there is water or not? There are many people coming. Whom will you ask? If you see a person very thirsty and haggard, will you ask him? If you see a person who is very cool and satisfied, you will go and ask him, because he might have got water. The other person, even if he says that I have got water, it cannot be trusted, because he is looking thirsty and haggard. So the Guru, you have to select like that whom you are going to accept as the Guru. By looking and your analysis, you have to select that, yes, I can ask him. Now, once you have asked him, he told you that, yes, just now I had some very good water, I was very thirsty, I got my water, I cannot go back again, but I can guide you. He tells you that you walk straight on this path only for 10 minutes, then when you see a heap of sand there, you take a right turn there, walk for 5 minutes, then you look at the left, you find a palm tree head is being seen, the leaves are seen. Then you straight walk towards the palm tree. And when you are under the palm tree, look down, there is water. But the water cannot be seen from where you are standing. Even when you have not gone to the palm tree at a distance, took the right turn, left turn, You will not know the water. When you go and finally stand near the palm tree, you find the water and drink it. Now suppose you walked for 10 minutes and you find that the things are becoming more arid. It is not at all becoming more lively or so. That man must have told me wrongly. It's not a right turn. I should take the left turn where it seems to be a little more greener perhaps. You take a left turn and go your own way and get lost in the desert. This is what happens generally. You have to follow. That Arjuna has to follow what Krishna said. Dukkhamityeva yat karma kaya klesha bhayat tyajet sakritva rajasam tyagam naiva tyaga phalam lavet. When he is leaving the work out of fear for some manasika difficulty, some mental trouble, mental trouble, na, for what do you call it? Physical trouble and dukkha. Dukkha means mental unhappiness. Some unhappiness or difficulty, mental difficulty or physical difficulty. Out of fear for that, when you are leaving the work, then it is called Rajasika Tyaga. In Arjuna's case, what it is? His mental difficulty was facing Bhishma and Drona. That was the major. He was not afraid about the kaya klesha. The physical part perhaps he was not worried about. But he was worried about the mental dukkha and wanted to leave the work and go. That would have been a Rajasika Tyaga. So Krishna was repeatedly saying not to do it. In many places, people don't marry not because they want to practice celibacy or so. They are afraid of taking the burden of the family. Even if they marry, they don't go for the children because they are afraid of taking the burden of the family. In our Shastras, it is not approved. He says that if you remain unmarried, by 40 years of age, you have to take up Naishtika Sannyasa or Sannyasa. You get my point? Beyond 40, if you remain unmarried, then you should take to a spiritual life of renunciation, which will be for a greater purpose than a family life. Family life is meant for Vamshabruddhi, that means sustaining the civilization. That's extremely important. Not only that, when we are procreating, we are giving birth to children. Our Shastras say that you are doing something which is parallel to Brahma, the creator. It is something parallel to Brahma's creation, because you don't know how long your progeny is going to inhabit this world. Your son or daughter, then their progeny. How long the Vamsha, the lineage will go, you don't know. So you are responsible for giving birth to the future generations. So it is so much of a responsibility. It is a responsibility like the responsibility of Brahma, the creator. You have to be. So that is why in our Shastras, we have Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Dharma means knowing the righteous way of life, or the which sustains the universe. Dharma means which sustains, the law of sustenance of nature, which when we follow, it sustains life. So first we have to learn the law of sustenance of nature. Then we have to earn our livelihood, Artha. When we earn our livelihood, then comes Kama. Kama means fulfilling the rightful desires. You cannot fulfill your desires causing harm to others. If you want to steal and fulfill your desire, it is not right because it is harmful to others. So you have to fulfill your rightful desires. And then when you have done it, then you are supposed not to hold on to your grandchildren and all, to walk off, taking up Banaprastha or Sannyasa. That is moksha. Now, if we are disapproving Kama, then would we have proved in the Purusharthas? These are called fourfold Purushartha. Purushartha means Purushasya Artha. That means whatever we gain in life, by applying our paurusha, our self-will, self-effort. Whatever we gain in life by applying our self-effort. And these are the 4 Purusharthas. Suppose people feel that always we are, in our Shastras, we are disapproving of kama, desires. It is not so. Desires are a fact of the world. When we are talking about renouncing the desire, it is we are trying to get to that last moksha level, that we have not been able to understand the truth and not been able to be happy. So we want to know where lies the ultimate fulfillment. Then only the moksha shastras are taught. Or it can be from the beginning. Those who do not have interest in the world, they can take it from the beginning also. But there is a scope for the Purushartha, 4-fold Purushartha. The third one is the fulfillment of the kama. With the money you have received, artha you have earned, you have to fulfill your rightful desires. Now in doing it, what the Shastras say is that, don't think that, suppose the kama means you want to marry, you have to marry, you have to have children. That is part of the sustenance of the civilization, is part of the dharma. If nobody marries and procreates, then the civilization will not be sustained. They say in Germany they don't have the next generation mostly. It is dying. So that is a very dire situation. So let us not decry the kama part of it. It is essential. What only they are giving us the caution is that don't think that by marrying you will become permanently fulfilled, or that is going to meet your ultimate goal of life. You marry because it is a necessity. You have to fulfill kama, but not only that, you have to have a proper next generation progeny. For that you have to marry. But don't get stuck to it thinking that that is the ultimate in life. As you have done your family duties and all, then you look for the further step and go for moksha. That is also for the benefit of the civilization. Without the Brahma Vidyas, our civilization would not have sustained for thousands and thousands of years. We don't know how long. The whole civilization is existing only because of the Brahma Vidya. Because it is always bringing the society back on the auspicious track. So our religion is very, very wise. It has been created by the knowers. Although it is giving simpler models for the mass because they will not understand the truth. But everything is based on the fundamental truth. So that leaving the normal way of life of satisfying our desire and having a proper progeny, that should not be left out of kaya klesha bhayat. Then you are not getting the opportunity to purify your mind. All these are necessary to purify your mind. So you completely change the action. Don't think that I am marrying only to satisfy my kama. It's not so. It is part of the whole thing. But in the process, I will beget some good children for the society and I will see that they are brought up properly and I will do my whatever other things to be done also. And never think that I am going to be fulfilled by that. For fulfillment, I have to know the truth, or at least walk on the path of the truth. When I wanted to leave and join Pondicherry Ashram at one point when I was doing working for doing research, I wanted to leave the work and join Pondicherry, Aurobindo Ashram. I was almost on the point of leaving, but then I thought that I have to ask my guru. The actually initiation guru is Baba, Swamiji's guru. So I went to Baba to ask that I have thought about it, that I will go and do it. Baba listened to everything, then asked that why do you want to go? I gave long lectures and all, whatever, why I thought I will go and all. No. You have to finish your PhD. Okay, before PhD itself you can get married. You marry and then both of you leave. Both of you join Pondicherry. So later on I understood that that would have been a wrong step. But I was at least good to listen to my Guru. That I followed whatever he said. Not initially, I resisted quite a lot, argued, but I was not closed up. Openly I argued for 3 days or so. Then I said that the argument is not reaching anywhere, like Shankaracharya and Mandana Mishra, that you have your point and I have my point. Then I said that, okay, if you want me to do, you give me adesha. Adesha means order, and I will follow. That was my Guru Bhakti. I said that you give me order and I will follow. He wrote back saying that whatever I think to be your welfare, for your welfare, I have said that. If you want, you can consider it as my order. So all these are not a Viveka-oriented decision. Why should I think of going away there, leaving this, leaving that? I thought it is a golden age where all the work is spiritual and all. But had I have enough of Viveka, I would have understood everywhere any ashram is made of people only. There will be all kinds of animals. Animals chhod ke kya hai? We are all animals. Some are better than others. So it's all delusion, partly maybe I was not interested in working for the research PhD and all. So that work was becoming a little not so likable. So I wanted to leave the work. So karma tyaga can happen out of delusion, out of some dislike and various things. So he is saying that it should not be. You should do everything guided by your Viveka. When the time comes for living, that also will be guided by the Viveka and you will live. Otherwise it is called Rajasa Tyagam. Such a Tyaga which is out of fear for any burden or anything, that is called Rajasa Tyaga. Naiva Tyaga Phalam Labhet. In that case you won't get the benefit of Tyaga. What is the benefit of Tyaga? Pavanani Manishinam. It is purifying. It makes our mind impersonal. It makes our mind free of the desires. It makes our mind pure. So that phala will not be had when we are living out of fear of unhappiness or physical discomfort. कार्यमित्येव यत्कर्म नियतं क्रियतेऽर्जुन संगं त्यक्त्वा फलं चैव सत्यागः सात्विको मतः. See, this we have already discussed, but now he is calling that Tyaga as the Sattvika Tyaga. In all this analysis, everywhere the Sattvika practice is the one which we have to take. And in some where we find that we are getting bound by the Sattva Guna, there we have to go beyond that, to get rid of the bondage created by the Sattva Guna. This I have been explaining always. So he says, Karyam iti eva yat karma niyatam kriyate Arjuna. Niyatam karyam. Niyatam karyam. Karyam means which has to be done. And niyatam means which is well regulated again. Regulated means regulated by the Viveka Buddhi. Sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva satyaga satviko mataha. That is called the Sattvika Tyaga. I am not going into great detail because we have already been explaining this, that Sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva. Phalam means not the objective phala, but the subjective phala. That is not relating it to selfish gain, I will be happy or I will have some loss, this, that, all. Those should not be. They all should be renounced. And Sangam Tyaktva means leaving the ego part of it. That is, in short, we call it Kartritva Bhoktritva. Kartritva means I have done this, and Bhoktritva means I will enjoy this. If these two are there, not there, then it becomes Sattvika Tyaga. And by that what will happen? We will slowly discover that I have nothing to gain from the world. Nothing in the world is going to be really making me happy. When we do the Sattvika Tyaga, automatically we will understand that the happiness does not come from anything objective. So the doing motivated by desires, we will understand that it is not going to fulfill me at all. The happiness lies within, and when we are free of desires, then we automatically become happy. That is, it is a great discovery when we discover that fulfillment of desires do not make us happy. Desires make us unhappy. Desires make us unhappy. And when we leave the desire, when we renounce the desire, then automatically we find that we are happy. We don't have to become happy. Happiness is right there. Joy is there within. So understanding that desires are actually making us unhappy. And when the desire is fulfilled, that desire goes, so we are happy at that time. Because the unhappiness goes, nothing else. It is such a simple thing, but it will take a long time to understand because of our bhogecha. That we constantly want to enjoy the world, and it doesn't go from our, we are not able to eliminate that part, that conviction that I will enjoy the world. Actually, we don't enjoy the world enjoys us. Bhogana bhukta vayameva bhukta. We think that we are enjoying the world. If we are enjoying the world should reduce and we should grow. The world remains the world, we vanish. So who is enjoying whom? Here is way of seeing. Bhogana bhukta vayameva bhuktaha. Tapona taptaha vayameva taptaha. We think that we have done enough of tapas. We have not done any austerity at all. Only the austerity has heated us. Oh, हमने इतना जप किया है, 10,000 करके रोज जप किया है, इतना तपस किया है. अरे, by that what has happened? Have you got what is the goal, the purpose of the japa? You haven't got, then it is japa has only utilized you, that you have got emaciated by doing your tapas. Kalo na jataha bhayameva jataha. Always we say that some time is going. Time doesn't go anywhere, we go. We say time is going. Time doesn't go. It is the change of our objective objects, our body and everything. We go. Trishnana jirna vayameva jirnaha. The desires have not gone. Jirna means desires have not gone eaten up, not gone, become over. Vayameva jirnaha. By hosting the desires, we have become emaciated. That means we have been eaten up by the desires. The desires still remain like that. Bhoge roga bhayam, kule chuti bhayam, vitte nripalad bhayam. Mane dainya bhayam, bale ripu bhayam, kaye kritantat bhayam. Na? Rupe jaraya bhayam. Then shastre vadi bhayam, gune khala bhayam, kaye kritantat bhayam. Sarvam vastu bhayanvitam bhuvinirnam, vairagyam eva bhayam. What is that? Bhoge roga bhayam. When we are attached to the bhoga, when we are clinging, we develop sangha to indulgence, bhoga, enjoyment. Then we have the fear of disease. Oh, 50 साल हो गया है, अब क्या होगा, रसगुल्ला नहीं खा पाएंगे, डायबिटीज हो गया है. So if we cling, it is a sangha question. Otherwise you have bhoga, there won't be any fear of disease. That disease will come. ठीक है. But when we are clinging, when we are clinging to the bhoga, then the fear of disease will hold. Bhoge roga bhayam, kule chuti bhayam. If you feel proud about your lineage, I am Prime Minister's son or such great person's son or so. We belong to a very religious, austere family. अरे तुम्हारा बच्चा देखो क्या होगा, खत्म हो गया पूरा, स्काउंड्रल बन गया. That means when you are taking pride in your lineage, you will have the fear of your son going astray. That fear always will be there. If the son becomes like that, we don't know what to do, we get angry and start beating the son. The question is whether we are clinging to that or not. If you are not clinging to our prestige lineage and all, yes, you have it. And if the son becomes otherwise, that also you accept it, no problem. Everywhere the Sangha and Phalabhoga, that by thinking of the lineage, that I am that, and I am trying to enjoy the others giving me the prestige for that. You enjoy good food, but you think that I have to enjoy more. You are clinging to that. Like that, all these are there. What is that? Then what happens finally? Vairagyam eva bhayam. What is vairagya? He says only the abode of fearlessness is vairagya. What is vairagya? Vairagya means viraga. That means not to cling to anything. Have the impersonal view. You go on enjoying everything. You have riches. You have fame. You have great lineage. You have enough of materials for your comfort. Nothing will happen if you do it with vairagya. No fear, nothing. You will enjoy the best with vairagya. But people think that the vairagya means he will not have any enjoyment. The real vairagya is impersonality. Unless that impersonality is there, you will not be able to enjoy even your children. The affection towards the children you will really enjoy when there is vairagya. If you think that it is my son, then the enjoyment will be less. Karyamityeva yat karma niyatam kriyate Arjuna sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva satyagas satviko mataha Nadveshtya kushalam karma kushale nanushajjate tyagi sattva samavishto medhavi chinna samshayah